Here is my audience for my speech. I'm going to pass off the phone. Hi, my name is Colton. This is my persuasive speech on how media divides our country. Think of an example scenario. You have two neighbors who watch completely different news networks. One neighbor watches Fox News, the other watches CNN. These two neighbors were once great friends, got along great, had cookouts together, hung out, went to places together, but now they despise each other because they can't agree on their opinion on politics. Fox and CNN tell the exact same story in two completely different ways. This creates a lot of division amongst the two neighbors, which sparks those conflicts. This shows that biased news and media coverage creates conflict within our society that is completely unnecessary. According to Pew Research, most Americans rely on TV news for their daily info every day. Today I'm going to talk about emotional framing and selective reporting and how they can cause real-world harm, and talk about solutions to solve these problems. Mainstream news media has played a major role in dividing society, especially more than ever in the past few decades, especially here in the US. So bad now to the point where people wish death upon others and harm upon others over simple disagreements on their opinions. In order to avoid this, we must become more intentional, critical, and responsible in how we consume our media. First, I'll be talking about emotional framing. The Daily Collegian mentions how networks use conflict and outrage to keep their viewers engaged. A great example of this may be from a protest. Fox News may show this protest as extremely violent, with fires, chaos, and looting to push towards one side, to keep their opinion one-sided. CNN may then show peaceful protests from the same exact event, where people are just marching down the street and holding signs and things of the sort. Both of these networks show facts from the same events, but they ignore the other sections that they don't want to show, that the opposing network is showing. Another great example of this may be coverage from the aftermath of a hurricane. One network may show government's failures and inabilities to help with the cleanup efforts, and the other news network may just show resilience from communities and cleaning up things on their own. This just shows that emotional framing shapes reactions and creates unnecessary levels of division amongst us. The next thing I'll be talking about is selective reporting. Syracuse University states that people choose the network that matches their identity best, just what they want to hear personally. That just shows networks tailor stories to one side so that people will stick with their network and continue to watch them on a daily basis and create them more funds and money. A great example of this may come from any election, for example. CNN may highlight the candidates' controversies and failures, while Fox News may highlight their economic wins. And on a vice versa standpoint, CNN may highlight the economic wins, and Fox may highlight the controversies and failures based on if they like the candidate or if they don't like the candidate, to try to make that candidate look bad. Another example could be a bill passed in Congress. One network may focus on that bill's benefits and how it can contribute and make our country better, and the other network may only focus on the costs of this bill and what it's going to cost the country, and disregard those benefits and make the bill look bad in accordance to their standpoint and their view. All of this can cause a ton of real-world harm, mostly real-world harm in just the sense of division amongst families and friends and people of that sort. Division shows up in people's relationships now with their families. Something that should not break up families and friends now makes them just absolutely despise or hate each other and want nothing to do with them now. Something that maybe before 20 years prior from now, people may have disagreed on things, but they still got along great with their family and still got along great with their friends, and just a disagreement on an opinion never caused issues and harm amongst groups. A great example of this may be from a father who watches maybe Fox News and then the daughter watches CNN. They disagree on immigration policies. And now it's either the daughter absolutely despises her father now and wants nothing to do with him because she can't agree with his opinion, and this is from the man who raised her, or vice versa, in the sense of now the father would like disown his daughter because he can't agree with her opinions and he can't believe he raised that as his daughter. And now, rather than just getting along and having differing opinions, they now hate on each other for it. Some more great examples of this that I can relate to personally. I know people in my family, people in my family have differing opinions on things. On one side of my family, a lot of us have an opinion in one direction, and then the family on the other side has completely differing opinions on the same topics. And we do get along in a sense, but there's a lot of our family we don't see too much that is kind of the group that we don't agree with, but we still get along as a family. But I know with a lot of families, you have people that, for example, like maybe at Thanksgiving, of course, never bring up politics at a Thanksgiving dinner table, but if you were to bring up something like that, they would maybe, or not even bring it up, they would just not even want to go to that event anymore or even see their family or spend time with them because they can't stand them anymore because they don't agree with an opinion. And I know other things as well, like people I work with who have left the job because they don't agree with people they used to be friends with just because they don't agree on politics. And there's just plenty of other great scenarios about that, but just a lot of things that a lot of us can relate to on a daily basis now. Pew Research Center states that over half of Americans lack any confidence in journalists' abilities to act in the public's best interest. Unity is practically impossible as a country if we can't at least agree on facts. Now, opinions are great, or an okay thing to disagree on. It's okay to have differing opinions, but if people can't differ their opinions on a situation and not at least look at the facts of that situation and agree at least on the factual standpoint of it, then we can never be truly, completely unified. There's a lot of solutions to this as well. As powerless as we may feel, we are not powerless in these situations. Pew Research notes that people who get their info from multiple news sources rather than just one are to be less polarized as a whole. We can compare networks to spot emotional language and check for original sources. We are not limited to just getting our information from one network. We can look around and create our own opinion based on what we see elsewhere, not just from what one news source is telling us to believe. Reading across the spectrum is especially important for responsible media habits as a whole. This way we can help rebuild connections with each other that we otherwise would not be able to. As a whole today, we looked at how emotional framing, selective reporting, and partisan narratives divide us and how we can push back against those things. Mainstream news media has played a major role in dividing our society, so now we must become more intentional, critical, and responsible in how we consume that media. In order to unite our world and our country as a whole, we must start questioning the sources that shape our beliefs and choose to think for ourselves instead. Do we really, truly hate each other, or is the media just telling us to?